Hello, welcome to another episode of Just Cuz, the podcast where two cousins talk about things they love.
Just cuz. I'm Sasha, he's Max, and today we are talking about Blue Beetle.
Officially the first entry into the new DC universe, I think, I guess. I don't.
Is it? Is it though?
It. Okay,
Is it really?
we have not talked about this movie as we do most movies on this
We we
podcast,
tr-
but.
we try not to talk to each other at all.
But I feel
No,
like
just
we
kidding.
both have the same sense about this movie, and that is that
Yeah.
this is a pretty good movie for the early 2000s.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was like, this would have been a great movie if it came out 20 years ago.
So Jaime Reyes, the character, the protagonist of this movie, he was created in 2006, and that is a perfect time for this movie to come out.
Yes. Yes, it is. I just think, it was a very by the books, by the numbers superhero origin movie. I don't think audiences are really coming out for that kind of story the way that they used to.
No.
It's
And
not as interesting
I'm honestly not
anymore.
even sure if this movie wasn't so cookie cutter, would it still have bombed? I'm not sure. I have no idea.
I don't know. I mean, I know that it opened this weekend. I went to see it today, which is a Monday, and there were maybe 10 people in the theater, probably less, in a huge theater.
Hmm.
Okay? And it was just there were so many things that just didn't work for me, and I feel bad because I really wanted this movie to work. I really did. And I like the concept of Blue Beetle as a character, and I like the idea for this movie, but I just the humor didn't work for me, the plot didn't work for me, the villain didn't work for me.
We're gonna get into it, but there are some things that did work for me. I thought the villain was pretty good. There's one aspect that I thought they should have done more, but
there's definitely a few things that I liked. I'm not completely hating on this movie. I thought the performances were all good. I really obviously um damn, what's her name? I love her. The villain. The
oh,
frick. What's her name?
what is her name?
She was in Enchanted, and she was in a million other things,
What is
and
her
I
name?
literally was thinking Susan Sarandon.
Oh,
That's it.
okay.
Susan
Yeah,
Sarandon.
yeah.
I love Susan Sarandon, and she was so good. And she was, giving it her all, and Harvey last I don't remember last names, but Harvey from who plays Guillermo in What We Do in the Shadows.
The
He was
TV show.
great.
He's also
Yeah.
Perito.
Yes, he's also Perito in Puss in Boots too.
Hmm.
Amazing, amazing, life-changing movie. Um he's in tons of stuff, and I'm currently watching the new season of What We Do in the Shadows. So good. In that, and he was great in this movie. The more main characters, George Lopez, great. I always
Oh
love to
yeah.
see George
I was gonna
Lopez.
say his comedy is pretty good. I mean, he
Mhm.
tells a lot of jokes and not all of them land, but there's enough of them that it works.
I disagree. I think his delivery is the only thing that works about his jokes.
Oh.
um, but all the acting was good. I really liked the sister.
Hmm. I thought
And
the sister was annoying, but they were trying to make her annoying, so it.
yeah, I think she was a good actress, especially in the heavier scenes.
Hmm.
I thought Jaime was good. I
Oh,
thought the girlfriend, what was her name? I don't remember. I thought she was
I
good.
got the cast
Um,
list here, and I'm gonna do my best to pronounce their names. But Jaime Reyes, the main actor, he's from Cobra Kai. Zolo Maraduena. Oh God, I'm
okay,
sorry, man. I'm
let me
sorry.
pull it up. Let me pull it up. Let me see
I
here.
was also gonna name the dad. I thought that everything about his story was not only cookie cutter, but I could see it coming from a mile away. That being said,
Yeah.
it was good. Like the
It
actors did their job.
No, the actors really sold what was happening, but the plot beats themselves again, they didn't work for me. It was so predictable. I knew exactly what was going to happen, and then when it started happening, I was like, "Oh no, don't do this. I'm so tired of seeing this." And again, I feel bad. Like, I don't like saying bad things about movies. I like movies.
Mm. And we have plenty of good things to say about Blue Beetle, but I feel like the consensus is going to be we're negative at worst, but at best constructive criticism. And we even had the conversation of maybe we don't review this because, we started the podcast hoping to be positive and talking positively about movies and things we love. But we also reviewed The Flash, and I feel like it is necessary to talk about constructive criticism.
It is, but The Flash is fun to hate on because it was so bad. This one had potential. Like, it had it, and I could see it. And the second that the movie started, I was like, I wish that this was directed by James Gunn, or at least had James Gunn's influence, because I could tell what they were going for right from the beginning. But from the first scene with Jaime in the airport meeting his family, I was like, no, no. It's just a lot of the dialogue didn't work for me.
There's not too much in that scene that didn't work for me. I'm more thinking of Jaime meeting his family, and then he learns that his dad had a heart attack, and he's like, "Hey, why didn't you?"
Yeah.
Like, it kind of worked. It was very heavy on the exposition, letting
Yeah.
everyone know what the new status quo of the family is.
It felt like it felt like reading an outline. It felt like this is the introduction scene. This is the status quo scene. This is the exposition scene. Blah blah blah. And I felt it's like this is the time for an emotional scene. This is the time to show how much he loves his family. And I'm just like, ugh.
I'm getting ahead of myself, but my girlfriend and I had a lot of fun again in the theater because there was basically no one else there. I think there was maybe two more people in the theater that we were at, but we had a lot of fun quoting the movie before it happened because it was so
Yeah.
predictable. Like if that
We
gives you a sense of what we're talking about.
hmm No, no, absolutely. I knew lines before that
Hmm.
before they happened. I knew exactly what people are gonna say. It's like, oh, my mom died. Oh, my dad died. Oh, blah blah. Like I
It
keep saying blah blah
was
blah because it was just there was
it
too
was
much of the
blah blah blah.
same.
It was the Peanuts trombone for every adult, just blah 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 blah. But I mean, it was in the trailer, but the line "My family is what makes me
Is what makes me
strong."
strong.
Like, I get what you're going for, and the themes are there. And if they were touched on a little more subtly, I think this would have been a truly incredible movie. But
You know,
it's just not subtle enough.
yeah. You know what I think one of my biggest problems was, and I was thinking about this while watching it, was that the movie doesn't know how to toe the line between comedic and heartfelt, and it undercuts every single one of its heartfelt scenes, which they're cheesy, yes, and they're predictable, yes, but they have them and they do make you feel emotion because the actors are very good. And it undercuts every single one of them with a stupid joke that doesn't land and isn't funny. And the comedic parts of the movie, it's really the tone and the pacing that it feels off. Like, the one that's coming to my mind the most is when there are literal soldiers coming to the Reyes's house to find Jaime to arrest him, and they draw such specific parallels to ICE agents rounding up um undocumented families, and it is very clear that that's what they're doing. And then they immediately cut to a scene of Jaime trying to fly, and it is so tonally whiplash. It
It's
is
jarring.
ridiculous.
And it's not
It's
just jarring
incredibly jarring.
because they have no subtlety in their ice metaphor, which, again,
Right.
another fantastic theme that they could have put in the movie, but they had to shove it down our throats. And then, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they cut straight to Jaime trying to fly. And then his uncle's just like, what if you just jumped off the building? And he's like, oh, that could work. Like,
It's just like the entire scene from the trailer. And first
yeah.
of all, we talked about this in a different video, but you know this entire movie going in
Hmm.
because this trailer showed you absolutely everything that happens. There were no surprises. The only thing that I think the trailer didn't show you was the dad dying,
Hmm.
um, which
And also
was
Ted Cord,
incredibly predictable.
which I
Yeah.
really want to talk about Ted Cord later, but they didn't show that in the trailer, and I'm
They
glad
didn't show that in
because
the
that is the
trailer.
one thing that I didn't know about this movie going in. Literally everything else, like
Yeah.
the final action shot of the movie where Blue Beetle is jumping from the explosion to the ship, that's in the trailer.
Yeah, it's in the trailer. Literally the
Like
last frame of the combat in this movie.
like
That's
you
crazy.
don't want to take lessons from the Amazing Spider-Man 2, which the last shot of the movie was literally in the trailer.
Yeah, what a disappointing. Oh my gosh. Don't even get me started on The Amazing Spider-Man 2. But that was, yeah, the whole movie you're sitting there. Oh, when are we going to see Rhino? When are we going to see Rhino? Not till the last fucking second.
But I mean, with Blue Beetle, I came in and I wrote a whole freaking thesis essay about subtlety and why this movie just needed to be subtle and it needed to be less predictable. And then I thought of a very simple movie called Paddington, which is the most predictable movie you have ever seen. You know
Mm-hmm.
exactly what scene is coming as it's, about to happen, and it still works. So I think predictability isn't the problem here, or
I agree.
subtlety.
There are tons of things that are predictable. You know what? You want
Hmm.
to know something? I watched last night. I watched Memento for the first time.
Fucking great.
Freaking awesome movie. So good. I obviously knew what it was
Mm.
about. I didn't know the twists and stuff, but I knew what it was about. I actually, funnily enough, I knew what I knew about the movie previously from a huge video essay that I watched on fridging, which, yeah, that movie takes the cake.
Oh yeah.
Excellent example of fridging. But I didn't know the twists, but I was watching it, and even though the movie can be hard to follow and the movie is,
Hmm.
expertly woven together, there's lots of things in that movie that are predictable. Someone's getting tricked, someone's getting fucked over.
Hmm.
But that did not take away my enjoyment. And
No.
maybe that's not the best metaphor or best thing to compare Blue Beetle with, but it's
Yeah,
just fresh in my mind.
we
But
referenced
there's
that in our Oppenheimer review because it kind of drew inspiration for the structure. But
yeah,
I mean, just anything can be predictable and it can absolutely
exactly.
work because it can still hit you right in the feels,
Like so
especially
many
if you know
things
it's
are
going to
predictable.
happen. Yeah.
So many things are predictable. You know what's predictable? The never-ending story. I'm sorry. Atreyu, the horse dying in a never-ending story, that's predictable and it still kills you. It still makes you want to die.
With
Okay?
in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Lila, Teefs, and Floor, they introduce those
Yeah,
characters and you know they're going to die and it
you
still
already
works.
know.
Like
Yeah.
things can absolutely work if they're not subtle. But and maybe that's what we need to talk about in this review is get to the bottom of why Blue Beetle didn't work to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Because I do love the
Well,
character of Jaime Reyes, and I love the main the God Zolo's. I was about to try to say his last name again, but Zolo's portrayal of Jaime Reyes. I think he's
mhm.
charismatic, but this movie, I don't know.
I think it's like obviously there's nothing that we can do to stop these
No.
things from happening, but there's definitely, like I was saying, like it's the like plots like this can work, okay? This is a basic uh origin story superhero film. It has the same
Hmm.
exact plot beats as the
It's
first
worked a
Iron Man
billion
movie, as
times.
the first Captain America movie, as any superhero movie that you could possibly think of that has not bombed, that has been a great movie that people
Hmm.
love. And the problem is not the the story. The problem is the way that the story is told. The problem is the dialogue, the problem is the pacing, and the problem is the editing. The editing drove me nuts because it was really, you could tell that they were trying to make it unique. There were lots of one takes and lots of pan shots and lots of fun, twisting of the cameras and handheld moments. But it was none of it was coherent, and there were lots of that's cinematography. But
Mhm.
the in the editing there were lots of like shots that like lingered for way too long, and there were pans that took way too long, and by the time you got there you already knew what the joke was going to be, so it wasn't funny. And it was not a fun time.
I don't know if now is a good time to get into it, but I really do want to talk about the so-so-ness of the whole movie and the way that for every negative that we have to say, there is an exception. Like even you were talking about the panning shots. I was gonna talk about how just so the camera work and blocking and editing is, except
Mm-hmm.
for a couple exceptions. Like I liked the first fight between him and Omek, or the Indestructible Man is his name in the comics. I don't think he was
Mm-hmm.
ever given that name, but and I also liked the first flight that Jamie has when he goes out into the
Jaime.
uh,
Jaime.
Jaime. Oh my
You're
god.
the white woman from the
I was gonna
office building.
I
How
was
dare
gonna make a
you?
joke about that, about how that was a really good, like, not just joke but also comment on how a bunch of people try to
Really?
make
Because
him
I
more
didn't.
white.
I didn't think it was. I thought okay, because oh, see, okay. I have experience with people like doing that. Like I have a
Mhm.
friend who's called Jimenez, and people see their name written down as Jimenez or whatever, right? But it's the thing was he told her his name. Like he said it. Like he didn't write his name down. It wasn't on a sheet of paper. She didn't read it. So he said Jaime, and then
And
she
then
said Jamie. Like
I thought again,
I don't
the
I don't know
idea
if
of it was great, but yeah, it should have been she read Jaime and then pronounced it Jamie.
right. Because oh, I just okay. Maybe I'm not the best person to comment on this. I've never experienced this kind of bigotry. I am not Mexican. But um there were so many points, like especially with Susan Sarandon's character in this movie, where the bigotry and the racism that is shown seems so much like just bigotry and racism understood by a big, huge studio that's trying not to actually show the way that people are bigoted and racist like their studio. Because, all of those people up there in the big chairs making those decisions, all of them have biases. Everyone has biases, but, they're the big suits. They are the people who look at a name and read it not as Jaime, but as Jamie, right?
Hmm.
And it just felt like such a corporate whitewash, basically, of racist attitudes towards community. That's what it felt like for me. I don't know. Um, and
There
especially
was
like we were talking about before with the ice allegory, like it was so in your face, and it's like, yeah, we get it.
there was definitely just like the in your faceness felt studio noted or just studio needed, because it I mean the director, Angel Manuel Sado, I had faith that he could make a very good family drama, and I still do think, similar to The Flash, at the heart of this movie is a good family drama, but not very similar to The Flash. Blue Beetle is just so cookie cutter, like I've been saying over and over again, because it's just one point to another and you know exactly where you're going. And
Mm-hmm.
I wish that it did touch so much more on the ice stuff. Like if you're going to have that kind of metaphor, take your time with it. Don't do what they
Yeah,
did.
I just think like not that the in your face aspect of it was bad, because that kind of stuff, it needs to be in people's faces, because as we've learned from, the reaction from other movies like Barbie or like, you know other things, I'm sure there are others. But people don't understand subtlety. Some people are dumb, and some people don't understand metaphors and subtlety and allegory. But it's not the fact that it was in your face, it's the fact that they did it in a way that does a disservice to these actual stories, in my opinion.
Because it was all to tell a fun teenage superhero story. Like
It
everything was supposed to go into that fun vibe, and it just didn't.
Yeah, they were constantly undercutting it with badly written humor, and the fact that they were constantly um I can't even put it into words. I don't even hold on.
This is what the movie has done to us.
I just saw it like literally 10 minutes ago. And it made me wait for an end credit scene that was so not worth it. I was really upset that I waited for that.
Yeah, no.
Because I looked it up. I looked it up and I said, "Is there an end credit scene?" And Google was like, "There are two end credit scenes." And I was like, "Okay, I'll wait."
The first one was
Not worth it.
nice. I mean,
Yeah.
I wanted to see Ted Cord, and I tried to look up anything about who voiced him in that after credit scene, but I haven't seen anything. Do you want to talk about Ted Cord for a little bit, just to get a little positive?
Sure.
Because I love Ted Cord. Are you familiar with Blue Beetle or any of the incarnations?
I am not. I just know the symbiosis aspect of the character. I don't know anything else.
So, like I mentioned earlier, Jaime Reyes and the whole beetle symbiote scarab thing is a very recent um, story. I think it was all created in like 2006, but Ted Cord, the original Blue Beetle, who's just I always described him as Batman with autism, which is great because in the actual movie he's described as Batman with ADHD. So that tells me that the director definitely understands the character. But yeah, he was created back in 1939, and he's just a rich billionaire with a suit and a bunch of tech. And
Sick. He's
I
not like Batman, right? Because Batman's a
no,
fascist.
Batman beats someone up and tells them that they will never be able to walk again if they even decide to think about crime. Whereas Blue Beetle gives them a lollipop and pats them on the back and says, "Hey, do better, man."
I love that. Does he give his billions of dollars to people who actually need it to maybe prevent crime?
No, he's not
Oh,
that
well,
good of
then
a
never
billionaire.
mind.
But one thing that I absolutely love more than anything else about Blue Beetle is that he's best friends with Booster Gold. And I would love to see a
Really?
because they have a lot of tie-in comics together and it's always by the name of Blue and Gold. And I want to see a Blue and Gold movie.
That's awesome. Oh, was it? This is what you told me. I think you told me this when I told you that at the end of Legends of Tomorrow, when it was supposed to be renewed, but instead it was canceled mercilessly, and I'll never
Mhm.
forgive the network. That because Booster Gold was introduced, and he was. Oh, I can't think
He
of names
he
right
was
now. What's
played by the guy in
happening?
Scrubs.
Yeah, but he has a name.
He-
Damn it. And oh yeah, we've talked about it before too.
Mhm.
Anyway, but and they were like, "Oh yeah, you should have the other guy from Scrubs be Blue Beetle." I think you said that.
Did I don't remember saying
Cuz they're
that,
best
but
friends
that's
because they're best
perfect.
friends in real life.
Yeah, no,
And they
I
do like tons of like T-Mobile commercials together or something.
I think that would be absolutely amazing because I was a little bit worried because I'm not sure if the Booster Gold in the new DC timeline or universe is going to be an origin story. I hope not because I really want Ted Cord
It's
and
Donald.
Booster Gold.
I got it. It's Donald Faison. Donald
Donald
Faison
Faison.
was in the last like few episodes of Legends of Tomorrow. No, like the last episode as Booster Gold. And then I think it was I don't remember if it was you. It might have been someone else who was like, they should have Zach Braff be Blue Beetle. That would have been
That
so good.
I would love to see Zach Braff as Blue Beetle. Like that's a amazing casting. I think I saw
Well,
somewhere that
they
Will
done fucked it
Wheaton
up, didn't they? The CW. How dare you cancel Legends of Tomorrow?
could have had it kept on going. I would have kept on watching it. I watched a few
It's
episodes
such a
after
good
we talked
show.
about it. It's great.
Yeah,
It's
you should watch
fun.
the rest of them.
But back to I guess I
Back
got
to Ted Cord.
yeah,
Ted
back to
Cord.
Ted Cord because he's just so fantastic. So I was planning on talking about this after the review, but the director of Blue Beetle has talked about how he wants it to be the first of a trilogy. Now I do not want to see this trilogy. I'm just going to go outright and say that. I'm not really interested in seeing this or any more of it. What I am interested in is seeing where the heck Ted Cord is in time, in dimensions. I'm
Well, I
assuming
feel like you would
time.
only I feel like you would only get that answer from a sequel, from a
I
trilogy.
mean, yeah, I feel like this Blue Beetle, probably even Jaime Reyes, will never see again. But I would
Well,
love to see all of these characters in some sort of wacky scenario trying to get Ted Cord. Maybe Booster Gold is there.
okay. Before I say what I was going to say, I want to ask you because I don't know. Is this movie a part of John Gunn, the James Gunn, John Gunn,
Jim Gunn.
James Gunn? I was just listening to Dear John in the car. Okay, give me a break. Um, James Gunn's plan for the new DC universe. Is this movie like I know that he was not involved in making this movie because the
Mhm.
timeline doesn't work out. But um is this movie a part of his plan?
I have no evidence when I say this, but I can almost guarantee you that Jim Gunn saw a screener for Blue Beetle. He thought to himself, yeah, this doesn't really affect anything in a world. Like, it doesn't change a status quo in a universe. So, sure, it
Mm-hmm.
works. It can be in my
Right.
universe.
But what I was gonna say is like because James Gunn is really good at taking characters that, you know, have potential from terrible movies and turning them into something that really, really works, like in The Suicide Squad. Um, and even characters that people don't think have any potential, like the Guardians of the Galaxy. like what was it? My favorite not cinema sins. My favorite honest trailer video. It's like, oh, you guys are obsessed with Marvel. Well, why don't we give you a movie that stars a fucking raccoon in a fucking tree?
It's just, oh crap, it made a bunch of money.
Yeah, literally. Like he and the raccoon was literally the heart of all three movies. Like,
Yeah.
stop. If he wanted to put Jaime or put Blue Beetle in something else, or in some sort of team up or TV show, or you know, give this character a new life, a second life, maybe even the other characters from this movie. Because I think a lot of it would have worked if it was written better. I mean, like I was saying, all of the actors were very good. It wasn't a fault of theirs at all. There was a lot of heartfelt emotion there. It was just the script was not there. It wasn't it.
I mean, now that you kind of say that, I'm picturing any time that I see the character Jaime Reyes in a comic, it's always as a side character or a background character, and he's just the fun teenage Spider-Man like hero. And that can
Mm-hmm.
work where he's just like say he pops up in the Superman movie, like I think Green Lantern and Mr. Terrific and Hawk Girl will. Like that could work. He could just be part of
Well,
a team
the
and he could
thing
be
is
fun.
like, I don't know. That makes me feel sad because he he's the first Mexican superhero to get his own movie. And that's a big deal. And that's important to a lot of people. And he should have a chance to have a better movie. Like
And it was
it's not
directed with
I
someone who I assumed had something to say. And that I
I
guess wasn't
mean,
the case.
I don't know anything about this director. I don't know what else he's done. I don't even know his name. I wasn't listening when you said it, I'm going to be honest. But um I just think that it would be a real shame if he doesn't get another chance in the new universe that Gunn is building, you know?
Not just because this movie is bombing horribly, which I don't think it deserves to. It's not horrible,
Well, they
but
didn't do good advertising for this
no.
movie
I mean the
at
actors
all.
couldn't, but yeah, they but I mean
No, no,
putting
of course the actors couldn't. But there's
I
no
mean the
social
trailers
media
sucked.
presence. The trailers are awfully cut, just like the movie. I'm sorry. I feel bad saying stuff like that, but um, I have opinions.
We need
And
to get them out there.
yes, I need to get them out of my body. They're poisoning. Okay. I just I don't want this to be one and done and to the studios to learn
Hmm.
from this. Oh, people don't want Mexican superheroes. People want Superman and people want Batman and people want what they already know. No, that's not true. Okay? I just want a good movie. And I
Hmm.
think clearly I'm not going to say clearly the care and budget of other DC movies wasn't put into this because the other DC movies are bad. They're terrible, and it was very equal amount of attention and care seemed to be put into this movie as the other ones. They're all bad. I'm sorry.
We will get into it, I'm sure, in a later episode because I don't think that's true per se. Well,
Why
again, we'll
not? Just get into it
okay, we'll
now.
get into it now. I think Zack Snyder is fantastic at crafting moments, but he sacrifices story for it.
Yeah, then that's not a good movie. I'm sorry. I'm someone who I believe moments does not a good movie make. You need to have a story structure. You need to have compelling characters. You need to have reasons for those characters to do things. And I don't feel that when I watch Zack Snyder's
No,
movies.
I pull up different scenes. I'm thinking specifically of in Batman versus Superman. Batman when he's using his Batmobile and guns down a bunch of people, like literally guns
Mhm.
them down. That's bad.
Mhm.
But and then the warehouse scene. Those are great.
Scenes and moments are great, but
Hmm.
that's for music videos, okay? That is not for a movie. A movie is not good. And when you say things like, "Oh, I think there's a secret movie at the heart of this movie," I totally understand what you're saying, and I disagree because
No,
I
that
think if it's not if it's not if they don't show me what the movie is and if it's not good, then it's not good. Like
I
I don't
think
know.
I
It
will
could have been
stand
better. It
by
has potential, but
I will stand by when I say that there's a great movie inside some movies like Quantumania and Thor Love and Thunder. There is
mm-hmm.
not a good movie inside of a lot of the DC movies. I'm generalizing, but Zack Snyder's movies, except for
Yeah.
the 5 hour cut of Justice League. That's good because it's 5 hours long.
It's just good because of length.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you value. I see what you value, Max. Length, not quality. Okay.
Sometimes I just like slow mo shots where it goes so long that you're thinking, is this still slow mo?
All right. I'm glad that my double entendre went over your head. Let's move on. Uh, um, I, you know, I think these movies that are failing, like the reason that all these DC movies are not hitting as well as because they're clearly, especially with this movie, they were clearly trying to evoke an early Marvel movie. This had all the fingerprints of, let's make it quirky. Oh, let's make it heartfelt. Oh, let's make it have a specific theme of family. Let's have a superhero origin story, blah 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 blah. And it felt it felt like they were trying to do that, but it didn't feel
Hmm.
like a Marvel movie because they weren't taking their time. They, I think it suffers from similar problems as like, um, the second Shazam and uh the Flash
Hmm.
and the Superman versus Batman, whatever, Batman versus
Or the
Superman.
theatrical cut of Justice League.
Yeah.
I'd never even thought of it, but as soon as you said the awkward humor where it feels like it's trying to replicate Marvel, that is
Yeah.
exactly what the theatrical cut of Justice League, like
Oh,
that's
you never
the
thought of
wrong
that?
step. Well, no,
Yeah.
I knew that that was the wrong step, but I'd never thought of that in comparing it to Blue Beetle because that's exactly
Oh,
what Blue Beetle was doing.
yeah. It was That's what I felt when I was watching it.
Mhm.
I can't think of a single joke that I laughed at.
I wrote down one joke that I thought was great. And that
Okay,
was
which one?
when George Lopez saw the scarab for the first time and said, "Is that the new Tamagotchi?"
Yeah, someone behind me laughed at that. And I would have laughed at that, except when he was saying that, it had already started moving and melding to Jaime's skin. And I was like, no, George! No, Rudy! No, Rudy! It's not a Tamagotchi. What is wrong with you? Um, okay,
Tamagotchis
wait.
are not that high tech.
I was like, wait, this is a thought that I had. Okay, because I was thinking about this, and I was like, during that scene where the scarab is melding with Jaime
Hmm.
and like tearing his body
It's
apart.
horrific.
It is horrific. And I was like, if this was directed by James Gunn or Sam Raimi or somebody who understood body horror or any type of horror, like, this would be the scariest shit ever. But it was played for comedy and they kept cutting back to these static, weirdly angled shots of the family and it drove me insane, okay? And their jokes were too late or too quick and I was like, stop it. This is literally terrifying. Let this like show me a little bit more blood. Show me his screams in pain. They
Hmm.
should be screaming because he is getting fucked up by this scarab.
Yeah, when he said like it's inside of me, it was 100% played for laughs,
Yeah,
whereas
it was.
that
And he
could
was
have
like,
been
oh, went up his ass. I was like, no, it clawed its way inside him, you goon.
Mhm.
What's wrong with you?
It's I have the note that that is a horrific transformation, but you're right. It could have been stretched so much further and
I
to just more. Just
I loved it, okay? I love creepy, crazy stuff like that. And
mhm.
I think it would be so interesting if you were a superhero, but every time you had to transform into your superhero version of yourself, it was fucking painful and it was
Yeah.
frying your skin. Also, I didn't understand why they were doing the inside the helmet Iron Man camera shots for him. That's supposed to be melded to his skin. There's no inside shots to see his face. That's his face. Like,
Also,
what?
like on that note, I loved the practical suit, but there were some moments where he would move and you could see the folds in the
Oh,
suit.
of course. Yeah.
I don't even know if that can be fixed because again, I love the practical suit and the just the whole practicalness of it.
Okay,
But
you saying that, it reminded me of one moment that I did actually laugh in the movie, but it wasn't at a joke.
which moment is that?
It was at the end in the last fight when what's his name? The villain.
Indestructible
I
Man, even though he never goes
Is
by
that
that.
what he's called?
In the comics, that's what he's called. I've only ever known
Oh.
him by that name, but apparently he also goes by Olmec, or I think his like last
Olmec,
name
that's it.
was Carapax.
Yeah. Oh, no, Olmec wasn't Olmec the tech? I don't know.
I
Very
don't know.
confusing. Um
It
but
was an evil blue beetle. That's what they were doing.
yes. The opposite of the exact same tech as the hero, but as a villain, but
Hmm.
bigger. You know, it's the same as
Yeah.
everything else. But it was right when Jaime and his sister like reunited, and then he came up like behind them and started chasing Jaime out the building and they went through the wall and just the visual of that CGI man running in that suit, he looked so funny. He looked like the freaking berries and cream guy, like like back and forth. I lost my mind laughing.
At the end, when he got the full Olmec armor, he looked very much Hulkbuster, just a head floating on
Mm-hmm.
some really weird looking CG.
It was just not it. It wasn't
No,
it. I'm
it wasn't it.
sorry.
I liked his character, and I thought they could have used way more foreshadowing for his mom or just the locket that he always carries. Because that,
Mm-hmm.
I would go as far as to say, is great. But again, I just needed to see more of it to actually feel a connection to that. Because I didn't
Honestly,
feel a connection, but I thought it was good narrative.
if the movie, instead of exploring Jaime and his family, was just exploring the dynamic between Susan Sarandon's character and uh Caramax, is that his name?
Carapax.
Carapax, whatever. Between the two of them, if that was just the movie, I would be hooked. I would be
Hmm.
sold. That's such an interesting dynamic. And not that the Jaime stuff is uninteresting, but we've already talked about how we feel about this movie. And if it
Hmm.
was a completely different movie, I would want them to like just imagine, just put it in your mind for a second. If if Susan Sarandon's character and this guy, like the Blue Beetle, chose him, and after all of that history that they had together, like uh what would she do to him? How would he keep it a secret from her? That kind of thing. That would be interesting.
That
I'm
that
sorry,
sounds
I'm making a
fantastic.
yeah. I'm making a completely different movie here, and that's not what I came to do. But
But yeah, Mr. Carmex, I thought he was a good character. I just wish, I don't know, I don't know if more focus would have fixed it, but
no, 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 no. Definitely not in this movie.
no,
I'm saying
no,
that's a completely different
no.
idea. Completely different. Someone write that as a fan fiction. That would be cool. But no, this movie definitely don't give him more focus. That's not what this movie needed.
No. And I'm not sure what the movie needed. Again, there's a lot of good stuff. I liked Kaji the Scarab. I liked
Mm-hmm.
George Lopez, Rudy. I liked the suit, the horrific transformation. I thought there was one really good sweeping shot when Jaime goes to save his family and he's fighting all those cops. And it's just like this one long take where it goes back and
Mm-hmm.
forth. I thought that shot was spectacular. But those
Mm-hmm.
are some of the few exceptions in just this so-so-ness of the movie. Like I wish there was more subtlety. I wish there was more good to come from this.
Yeah. Um, I had something to say about the previews to the movie today. um, I saw the new Dune trailer.
Ooh.
And that looked really, really good. I was so excited.
Hmm.
I was pumped, right? And then right after, following the Dune trailer, was a Wonka trailer. And I wrote down the note. Hold on. Let me pull it up. I want to say exactly what I wrote down.
Word for word.
Yeah, word for word. Okay, I wrote this while I was watching the Wonka trailer, and I spelled some things wrong, but I'm gonna read it exactly how I spelled it, okay? It's kind of sad watching the Willy Winks trailer right after the Dune Part 2 trailer, because Timmy's performance in Dune looks really intriguing and passionate, and his one in Wonka seems like he is one of those plastic Tim Allens from the second Santa Claus movie.
Now I am laughing, but I want the listeners to be clear. I am still hopeful for Wonka to be great, and I think Timothy Chalamet will do great in it.
I I'm not hating on Timmy, guys. I'm not hating on the Chalamet. On the Shal. I don't know what his nickname is anymore. Timothy Chalamet. Right? I'm not hating. Okay, I like him. I like every movie he's been in so far. But the trailers for Wonka are not doing him any justice. And the rest of that movie looks fine. It looks
I
interesting
think it'll
enough.
be wholesome.
I think it'll be wholesome too. I'm not vibing with his performance. He feels like a plastic Santa Claus, okay? Go back and watch Santa Claus 2 and tell me that's not him.
Anyway, with that being said, let's move on to the consumption corner. Where Sasha, are you
Consumption
starved?
corner. I'm so starved. I've never been full. I've never been more starved in my life, Max. But let's start
I'm
with you. What are
yeah,
you
I'm actually
consuming?
pretty full because I brought too many recommendations. I think I might save a
Okay.
couple for next week because I'll say my first one is I'm finally getting to The Bear season 2, and that
Ah,
is, oh my God, it's
I
stressful as
have to
hell, but
start
it
it.
is
I have to
great.
start it. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, you need to watch The Bear.
I
fantastic.
know. I know. Huh. Okay, what else?
I am also planning on finishing and maybe even reviewing at a future episode. We might have an animation extravaganza because I've been watching My Adventures with Superman, and
Mm,
with seeing it coming to a close, and there's two more episodes, but it is doing pretty good. I'm liking it
mm-hmm.
so far. But Sasha,
Um,
what have
mm,
you been consuming? I got a
mm-hmm. I
couple
love that
more,
we're
but we can trade
I
off.
we'll trade off. I love that we're sticking to this consuming theme. It's really funny.
I said it once, and I just can't stop saying it.
I like it. I like it. Every time you say it, I picture myself as a Dickensian street urchin dying of consumption.
Eating a
Uh,
DVD.
yeah, exactly. What's that? What's a DVD, Max? No. Uh, um, I, you know this because you forced me to do it. I have just finished Owl House, the animated show. Um, Absolutely incredible. One of the best animated shows I've ever seen in my life. Highly recommend. We will be covering it in another
Yep.
episode, probably in our animation extravaganza. It is quintessential viewing
Yeah.
for anyone. I adore it. I will be rewatching it.
This is what brought
I
on the idea of the animation extravaganza, because I
mhm.
recommended this show to you, what, last week?
Yeah,
And I thought you would like it. I did not think you would like it this much, because again, you
I
have finished it.
consumed it. I finished it. I beat you. You haven't even
Yeah,
finished
I
it.
haven't watched season 3 yet, which is
Season three
only
is only
3
it's
episodes.
only 3 episodes. Get
Yeah.
on it,
I looked
okay?
it up
Which
and I
is
was
a
like, "Wait, there's
crime.
only 3? What is going on here?" Okay,
It's a
they're an
crime,
hour long.
but we'll talk about it another
Okay.
time. Um, I as I said last time, I did indeed do what I said. I am a woman of my word, listeners. I watched the newly released Red, White, and Royal Blue movie.
Mhm.
Um,
And
my mama told me if I have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. So I will not be speaking.
even though we
Except for
did
the
just talk about Blue Beetle,
yeah, whatever.
whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Except for the fact that I am a huge fan of the Red, White, and Royal Blue book. I adore the book. It's one of my favorite books of all time. I have a first edition copy. I've probably told you that before. And the movie has made me want to reread the book. So I am rereading the book. I'm halfway through it. I read it all through the hurricane yesterday. Uh,
Oh.
oh,
See, when you were
yeah.
talking about it, I thought it would be on the line of a Heartstoppers, and I was even thinking of watching it, but I
Me
do
too.
not plan to.
Okay. Yes, I sent you something. I sent you my rant, which you should watch, because I made a rant while watching it. I don't have the time to get into it now because it just makes me angry. But um for anyone who has read the book or seen the movie, I feel actually I kind of feel insane because everyone online who I've seen react to this movie loves it. And I'm like,
Really?
"What? Why? Why do you love it? Please tell me because I don't.
Explain.
I've seen it twice. I saw it as a screener months ago, right? Before it was finished and it was all weird and the CGI was even worse than it ended up being in the movie, which that's talent right there, okay? It was really bad in the movie.
Oh God.
Um and why does there need to be CGI? I don't know.
Yeah,
It
in
is
a
not a CGI. It is a
love story.
rom-com. Uh, anyway, uh, yeah. Um I feel like I'm out of my mind because everyone online loves it and they're like, I'm crying watching it. It's so good. And I'm like, am I dead inside? I hated it. It made me want to die. But I love the book and I'm rereading the book, so that's something I'm doing. I'm also about to start The Bear. So.
Yes, watch the bear. I got a couple more. I'll say them both because one is only half. Because I've tried to start watching Star Wars Rebels, and
Oh,
I
we've talked about this.
because Ahsoka's coming out next week,
Mm-hmm. Gotta catch up to Ahsoka.
and
Mm-hmm.
I have now decided that I'm just gonna watch the episodes, like the finales and the Ahsoka episodes, and the one with Darth Vader and
Yeah.
Tarkin, or not
You know what?
Tarkin, whatever his face is,
Was it Tarkin? It
Thrawn.
wasn't Tarkin.
No,
Thrawn,
Thrawn.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, it wasn't Tarkin.
they're both the
You know
same
what?
guy.
I don't blame you, okay? Because Clone Wars and Rebels are hard shows to watch every episode of. They really are.
And I
I
loved watching
haven't.
Clone Wars as a kid, and I will say that show not good. Just watch certain
No.
arcs that the internet tells you to, because that's how you watch
The
it.
arcs are good. That's how I watched it, okay? I tried to watch every episode and I got to like the second season and I was like,
Hmm.
I'm gonna die. I can't do it. So I just watched the good arcs and then obviously the last season, and that's amazing. Um,
Hmm. But yeah,
but yeah,
I'll,
no, Rebel, it's hard. It's hard. I don't
it's a
blame
kid
you.
show. And the
Mhm.
animation kind of throws me off because I don't really like it. And the thin lightsabers really throw me off, even though it's a direct uh link to the original Ralph McQuarrie concept designs. I get
Mhm.
it. I don't like it though.
Well, I don't buy it's a kid show as an excuse because there are great kid shows like Owl House. Anyway.
And yeah, we'll talk about it soon. There's a lot of really good kids shows. I just
Yes.
recommended My Adventures with Superman too. But
Yes.
we can close off this podcast with my last recommendation because it kind of ties into Blue Beetle loosely in that it is bombing horribly and I do not think it deserves to. And that
Oh,
is
what?
The Last Voyage of the Demeter. I think it is a
I've
very, I'm not going to say fantastic, but it is a competently made horror movie, and I liked it.
I've literally never heard of that. What is that?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so The Last Voyage of the Demeter is based off of a very short chapter of Bram Stoker's
Oh, it's
Dracula.
the Dracula thing. Okay, see, I knew
Yeah.
that was coming out, but I had no idea what the name was. I didn't know that was the name.
Hmm.
Interesting. Okay.
It's got a bunch of different names in different countries, one of which is like actually
Mm.
Dracula. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I heard that one.
it's not fantastic, but it's pretty good, and I would recommend
Okay.
giving it a watch, especially considering that it's not making enough money.
Mm. Yeah. I do want to say something I'm looking forward to. It hasn't come out
Okay.
yet, but I'm looking forward to it. The comedy Bottoms is dropping pretty soon. It's going to
I've
be out
heard
in
about that
theaters.
one.
I've heard such good things. I've heard people say it's like their favorite movie of 2023, and that's
Okay.
crazy to me.
Yeah, a
So I
lot of
definitely
good
have to
stuff came
watch it.
out.
It's starring the same it's starring one of the guys who was in the Red, White, Royal Blue movie. So let's hope that I like him in a different movie.
Was he at least charismatic in it?
His acting was not the one I had a problem with. I'll say
Okay,
that.
that's good.
If we want to have an episode, it would be less of an episode of the two of us talking and more of an episode of
Mhm.
me talking and you saying a lot. But
I mean, that's
if we
a I
wanted to do that, I would save it for that. But
that is
I don't
more
know.
than okay because I feel like we're gonna have a lot of episodes like that. But
Definitely any of the most of the DC comic episodes will be me going while you just go
hmm
on.
and I'm just like, so there's this character, and he did this thing, and he was made back in the 20s, so he's actually pretty cool.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And with that, this has been a Tamagotchi podcast.